Happy lunch hour, guys. Okay, so here it is, Saturday morning still, but around 11:30, and I'm watching the skies get darker and darker and darker. It's because we're supposed to have some heavy thunderstorms that come through, and I guess it's already hit you guys in Missouri and Nashville and everything, all points in between. I guess this is one of y'all sent me an email saying this is going to be like 86 miles an hour winds and powers out and things. So hopefully you watched that video the other day that I talked about what to do in a power outage. Hopefully you took it to heed. But that's not what this is about. Okay. So if anybody was paying attention this weekend, yesterday, and I guess it's more today, the Family Leadership Summit that is going on. And every conservative's best friend, Tucker Carlson, was interviewing on stage live, in front of a live audience there, the presidential hopefuls for 2024, most of them at least. Okay. Political suicide is what a few of them committed yesterday. Some of them didn't surprise me. One of them did, okay? But you can pretty much write all their candidacies down to zero for as far as I'm concerned. If you want to know who's going to be the 2024 election or 2024 nominee from the Republican Party, I'll bet my house on it, it's Donald Trump. Okay. So I wanted to kind of give you what was said yesterday, just in case you're never Trumper, because I want you to tell me because you can't tell me you're a Biden supporter, because anybody who's a Biden supporter doesn't have a freaking brain cell that works. Okay. I want to give you this. Oh, and I'll just go into this one first, just in case maybe you're on the fence and think, hey, maybe Kamala Harris might be a good presidential candidate in case Joe steps down, because we wouldn't want Trump. Besides the cackling hen's greatest stupidity, word salad she comes out with. How about this quote yesterday? This wasn't at the leadership summit. This was just her saying the quiet part out loud. Kamala Harris, quote, "When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water." Reduce population there, Kamala? I'm sure that the people that are your spin doctors will try to say you meant to say reduce pollution. But how did reduce population come into your mind? Just wondering that thought. You couldn't be drinking wine at Bill Gates' table, could you? Probably. So, yes. Cackling Cammy, yeah, she's an idiot. Like I've said many times, when you're a president, you got to fill every position in your cabinet with people that are dumber than you are, which is a difficult task for Joe Biden, but somehow he managed. But let's talk about that deep bench that the GOP has, okay? Because the Republican Party is no better than the Democrat Party for being filled with morons and people that have no idea what really is going on in the real world. So Mike Pence, we'll start with this one because this instantly puts Mike Pence to zero. Tucker Carlson, quote, "I know you're running for president. You are distressed the Ukrainians don't have enough American tanks. Every city in the United States has become much worse over the past 3 years. Drive around. There's not one city that has gotten better in the United States, and it's visible. And yet your concern is that the Ukrainians, a country that most people can't find on a map, who have received billions of U.S. tax dollars, don't have enough tanks? I think it's fair to ask, where's the concern for the United States in that?" That was Tucker's question. Mike Pence's answer, "Well, it's not my concern. Tucker, I've heard that routine from you before, but it's not my concern." Okay. Mike, your only job is to be concerned about the American people. Unless you're running for president of Ukraine, shut up. You just committed political suicide. Thank you. Glad you did it for yourself, because we've been telling you ever since you announced your candidacy that nobody was going to vote for you. But we understand you're on the Chris Christie train, going, hey, I'm going to do this for a year and a half so I can suck up a bunch of free vacations and free food and free travel for me and my family, and we can go see the country. Okay. Guess what, Mike? Your address, you don't have to call the post office. You're never going to need to put the change of address card in that says 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That ain't ever happening. But Mike Pence wasn't the only moron yesterday. Okay. Let's go to another one. How about Nikki Haley? Well, we're getting into the diversity, and the Republicans have to put up a woman of color, whatever it would be, hit all the DEI stuff just so the fruitcakes that like to go into Starbucks every morning might say, well, you know what? Maybe the GOP's waking up a little bit. We'll look at Nikki Haley, who's a con artist first class. Okay. Tucker's quote, or Tucker's question. Nobody would say Joe Biden was a great candidate. He didn't campaign. He was not a figure who commanded respect among Democrats. Nobody said, I want my kid to grow up to be Joe Biden. So how did Joe Biden get 81 million votes? 15 million votes more than Barack Obama. After a bunch of double talk, Nikki Haley's response was, I think President Biden wound up winning the election. Oh, I got it, Nikki. So what you're telling us is, even though you admit there was all sorts of strange happenings in 2020, it was still on the up and up enough that Joe Biden won the election. No, sorry. If you believe that, you're as corrupt as everybody else in Washington. But that shouldn't come as anybody's surprise, because we all know what you were doing back during the Trump presidency, trying to push out Mike Pence and trying to get promoted to vice president, because you have some sort of whacked out idea that you have an idea how to run this country. Guess what? Those of us who live in this country see right through you like a piece of cellophane. Not a problem. This is the one that surprised me, okay? Because I thought this candidate had a future. There's a lot of common sense that's come out of his mouth. Tim Scott decided to put his foot in his mouth yesterday. Tucker's question. Mexico sends fentanyl into the United States, killing hundreds of thousands of people. Russia hasn't killed a single American. Why is Russia our sworn enemy and Mexico is our ally? Tim Scott's response. Well, this is why we need to send more weapons to Ukraine. You want to be president of the United States, and somebody's asking you a question about Mexico, and your answer is, let's send weapons to Ukraine. Tim, you might want to take a geography class. Ukraine is nowhere near Mexico, okay? And no, we don't need to send more weapons to Ukraine. Let's take a look at what the overwhelming majority of conservatives in this country say. That we don't need to be sending anything. Not uniforms, not medical equipment, not money, not bullets, not tanks, not planes, and certainly not people to Ukraine. But you think we're going to rally behind you because you just came out and said, we need to send more weapons to Ukraine. Tim, has Lindsey Graham got to you that much? I know you're both from South Carolina, and Lindsey Graham is anything but a conservative. Are you following in his footsteps, going whichever way you think the wind blows? Because at this point, you're running right into a strong headwind. That ain't it. Sorry. The one that did impress me yesterday was Vivek Ramaswamy, but he usually does. The guy talks common sense. He's got a future. It ain't in 2024, I'll say that, okay? But he may be priming himself for a vice presidential nod. That's a very good possibility. Don't know. But if you were wondering which party we should be looking at in the 2024 election, I'd say neither. Because while Donald Trump may run on a GOP ticket, Donald Trump is hardly a Republican. I'd say Donald Trump is a patriot, a conservative, but he ain't no Republican. These people are Republicans, which all that tells me is they're Democrat light. And I don't know about any of you, but the last thing I want is any more liberalism in my country. Pinball out.